Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaheen Shan. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week.
Everyone, welcome to Business Story of the Week once again. I am your co-host, Joshua. New face, but same stories every week. And today we have a special guest for you guys. And this isn't going to be any different from all the guests that we've had before. But today we are going to be talking a lot about company culture and innovating that when it comes to communication. So Liz here is a distinguished figure known for extensive work when it comes to digital media and company culture. She is the founder of Pursuit. She has transformed healthcare organizations into digital leaders by assisting them in engaging more effectively with patients, through innovative digital communication, right? Strategies, programs, and awareness campaigns. Her early career, however, involved a pivotal role as a director of marketing for Digi International before she embarked on her entrepreneurial journey in healthcare marketing by 2013, right? Liz's strategic acumen and innovative approach have led Pursuit to direct clinical research recruitment initiatives for Fortune 500 companies. They manage public awareness campaigns on health epidemics, advocacy programs, and she's really made significant contributions as a writer, business owner, speaker, being featured in publications like Marie Claire, Buzz Magazine, Fast Company, The Muse, and many others. Liz, what I really like about Liz's career is her ability to revolutionize corporate communication and how it's been instrumental in teaching companies the importance of community building, both internally and externally. Her work has significantly impacted organizations like Oticon Medical, right? A pioneer in ear implants, right? Where she was deeply involved in crafting and leading digital media community strategies. Today, Liz is the chief strategist at Pursuit, where she combines her marketing skills with her passion for company culture. Her innovative insights and accolades marked by her roles as a thought leader, strategist, and advocate for innovative corporate culture showcases that she has the ability to navigate healthcare, technology, and business. Today, she's going to be sharing that story with us. Liz, how are you? I'm really happy to have you here today, and how our things have been.
Things are wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Joshua. I'm really excited to share my story and to be here with you.
Awesome. So I really want to start with the roots, right? This is all these success stories always start with the roots or where we all begin. And we mentioned earlier there that you started as a director of marketing for Digi International, and you mentioned prior to starting, it is where it got you started into really your entrepreneurial journey. Talk to us about that. What happened there, and why it led you to working remotely, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's right. I started my career in tech. So I actually started at a startup in Washington, D.C. called GoSo, which was short for Go Social, which was pretty ahead of its time. It was a software as a service, a social media platform for the automotive industry. And then I moved over to Digi International. So I went from a startup to a publicly traded global company. And I really started doing digital for a product, a software as a service for Digi International, doing the digital presence there. And then they brought me on as their director of marketing. And being in tech, I loved it, but I really knew I wanted to work for myself. But the people around me were doing it in a way that wasn't quite suitable for me. They were, it was the hustle culture time. People were quitting their full-time jobs and going after the Y Combinators, the tech stars, hustling in that way. And I just knew that I'm a bit more risk adverse. I,
Right.
was supporting myself. I was paying student loans. I was very young and I wanted to work for myself, but I had to find a different path to do that. I couldn't just give up
Right.
everything at once and take the big risk.
Hmm.
And so that's what really led me into coming up with this kind of systemized approach where I could become an entrepreneur, but I could do so in a way that I wasn't risking it all, and I knew I'd be able to pay my bills and really support myself along the way, which, brought
Right.
me to starting my company Pursuit.
Wow. Wow. So your journey from uh, being basically a corporate employee and wanting to find that freedom, so to speak, right? And having that kind of choices to make and decisions to make for themselves. This is a very common story when it comes to business successes, but you seem to really have embraced it. And not just that, you know, you actually innovated, you pushed it forward with what you're doing now with Pursuit. In your journey when transforming from especially your personal experience, how large communities, how large corporations communicate. What has been the most challenging aspect when it comes to that transition that you just did? Um, of course, it's always a fear for a lot of people to kind of like quit their job and
Mhm.
then start up a company the way you did. How did you overcome those challenges and what were the most significant ones?
Yeah, I think the most significant thing was kind of living a dual life, right? For
Right,
me, I was not going to make the jump from having a full-time corporate position into being a business owner. It
right,
just, it wasn't the path for me. So, in addition to doing my role as marketing director as best as I could and giving that 100%, I was also seeking out clients on the side when possible. And I was also really putting myself out there. So I was pitching myself for public speaking engagements where I was then being very transparent with the audience. I'm the director of
right.
marketing for Digi International, and I'm also an independent contractor.
Wow.
And so I think the biggest hurdle there is just knowing that there's a point in time, if you want to take the same path I did, where you're going to be living a double life. And you have to be putting in a lot of time in order to do that. But it's not something that lasts forever. But I really
Right,
needed to build that bridge between full time employee to business owner. And I
right,
think that, I took a lot of what I learned in my corporate job and I was
right,
really able to communicate with executives about becoming an independent contractor for their business. So at the time, I wasn't saying, I'm starting my own company. Do you want to hire us? I was saying, I'm an independent contractor. You know my
right,
brand. You trust me.
right,
And then so everything was really a slow transition. And at the time, that didn't feel great. I always felt like I want this to go faster. But
hmm,
really, it helped me build a personal brand that was really trusted. And then I was able to introduce my company Pursuit. And, we're
hmm.
now, this year, we're going to be 11 years old in October.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm so proud of that because, me of 11 years ago would say, this isn't moving fast enough. I want to go all in. But those small steps in that bridge that I created, I think that was the biggest hurdle to overcome. And it was worth the time I invested into it.
That's fantastic. I love how you put small steps and building a bridge using those small steps. It really is always the small things, right? Those small things add up in these kinds of journeys and these kinds of success stories like you have. And congratulations on 11 years.
Thank
Wow,
you.
that's
Thank
a
you.
long way to go. I'm very interested, like just looking through your researching about Pursuit, basically, and I'm very interested in it and how you guys separate yourself in, like a digital marketing agency, so to speak, right? There's a dime a dozen today, but you seem to have been successfully able to separate yourself, have your own niche, so to speak, and have your own voice that is right now being really prominent in the industry. Could you touch up a little bit about, of course, we touched up a little bit about your corporate company, employee experience, maybe a few insight from your startup experience as well, and regarding the role of community building in a company's success. How did that all come together, and how did that really form your vision of what Pursuit is today, what it is today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a very crowded space. Being a
Right.
digital agency in this point in time is a very crowded space. So I think first and foremost, we needed to have a niche. And the way that I came upon working in healthcare is I had a very early client, Oticon Medical. They create bone anchored hearing aids for people who have conductive hearing loss or single sided deafness. And
Wow.
so, a lot of children and people impacted greatly by this medical device that sits on one side of the head and
Uh-huh.
has sound move through bone conduction. It's just
Wow.
amazing. And
Wow.
so early on, we really focused, it wasn't about social media. It wasn't about the mediums that we were
Hmm.
communicating. It was about creating a community where people felt supported, where if someone had a 7 year old who was trying the device for the first time, they could meet another 7 year old who had been using it in school for
Right.
years. It was
Right.
about bringing those people together. And then it just so happened that we were able to use digital technology to do that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we worked with Oticon Medical for 7 years. We really pride ourselves on becoming part of the team of the organizations that are our clients. And I really just use that experience, that client as a footprint for what we do for our clients, both
Wow.
internally and externally. It's
Wow.
really about creating those connections, and digital technology is just, it happens to be the tool that we typically use to do it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I think that that's really kind of what we're founded on.
Hmm.
And the other way we've really differentiated ourselves, of course, everyone's so familiar with working remotely today. We've went through
Right.
COVID together. We
Yeah.
understand the value, right? But
Absolutely.
11 years ago, not really so much. And so I have always, part of the freedom that I wanted for working for myself, and the freedom that I wanted others people to get for working at Pursuit, is to live and work wherever they want. And so
Right.
that really means that, before everyone was doing this, I was able to attract talent that other people weren't getting. And, we're women owned, obviously. I'm the founder, and women operated. And that doesn't mean we only hire women, but we have a community where we have a very representative set of values, and we all value very similar things. And a lot of those things have to do with work life balance and flexibility and community and things of that nature. And we tend to attract clients who have those values as well. And so that's how we've been able to kind of put a stake in the ground as a digital agency. And you won't hear me stand on many stages or do many pitches where I put digital agency first, because
Of
really
course.
it's about engaging with your community internally and externally.
That is a fantastic way to put it. Let me just highlight there that I love that you are pushing remote work. I'm always a big advocate of that as well. But more than anything is your principles surrounding work-life balance, surrounding values and principles at work. And I love how you said that it's not always. I watched your videos, and it is true. You don't always mention digital agency right away. It isn't. And I love how you say that. I love how you communicate it. First and foremost, it's community, it's the people first, and it's always the community within that company. I just love that. We're nearing the end towards here, and I'd love to ask you this final question with regards to the future of work culture. With your experience, extensive experience in company culture, and with your work with working remotely, and your predictions, what are your predictions for the future of work culture, especially you mentioned the advent of COVID and how it changed how we look at working remotely, especially in the context of remote and distributed work, and also like how we seem to be trying to want to go back to working, on site, right? And it's always going to be a challenge. How do you think that's going to turn out? How do you think that back and forth is going to turn out? Do you think that working remotely is the future? And how do you think Pursuit in particular can be at the forefront of this remote kind of change and a look, how we look at working?
Yeah. So, a couple of things. I think for the future of work in general and company culture, and this is something that took me a while to rally behind. When I first started Pursuit, I thought everyone who worked for Pursuit should care as much as I did about the company. I thought everyone should be hustling, working all the time. I really did kind of come up in that air quotes girl boss,
Let's go.
millennial. I'm a millennial, like that kind of culture. And I thought everyone should be hustling 24/7. And as I've grown as a leader and as I've grown as a human, I've just realized that the future of work in general and of good company culture is trust. So whether you're working in
Wow.
person or you're working remotely, you need to trust your employees to run their own schedule. They need to
Hmm.
have flexibility. We need to be able
Wow.
to be human. And I think that's incredibly important. And we also need to know that not everyone who works with us it's not their top passion. It's totally possible that they have a different passion in life, and
Of
that is
course.
not only okay, it should be celebrated. And so that's something that I think
Absolutely.
we need to, the whole my team is my family. I think we need to put that away and be more realistic. And then on the working remotely front, the way that I see things kind of shaking out is that I think, again, it has to do with transparency. Remote companies are a fantastic place for a specific type of person, as are those that want people to be working physically in office. I
Hmm.
think hybrid work cultures can be fine sometimes, but I think it's up to us as individuals and up to us as business leaders to define who we're going to be and understand where we fit best. I think some people just work better in an office environment, and I think that's absolutely great to know that about yourself, and it's great to know if that works for your organization. For me and for the people who work for Pursuit, it is a remote structure, and the way that we continue to make that work for us is that our processes, our systems, they're all digital based. And we have a communications compass that talks about those digital programs. And, we've actually been hired um, to come in and set up those digital systems for organizations. And that I love that kind of work. It's something that we want to keep doing because I think that's something that's so important. You can say we're a remote company, but you have to have those remote systems in place to support people, or it will be not a pleasant experience. So that's where I hope we can play a role now and in the future.
That's fantastic. Not just the remote infrastructure to support that, but also the principles that follow behind it. And that
Yeah.
is something that I see. I see that how you guys reflect in that, how you guys are very hard on that vision. And quite frankly, you said more leaders, more leaders need to lead that kind of innovation, not just individuals wanting to work remotely, right? It has
Right.
to be leaders that are leading that kind of push and leading really. And I just want to say, by the way, that it's great that there are millennial leaders like you are that are kind of just like pushing it for the rest of us to just this is the way to go, this
Yeah.
is the way to go. Everyone needs to work remotely, and it just does a lot for the personal mental health and all that and everything. And I'm just thoroughly impressed with what you do at Pursuit, and I'd love to keep up. I'd love to stay up to date with what you guys do, and I love to offer support where I can. So I guess this is the part where I ask, like, how do we reach you, Liz? Where do we find you? And what else is there that you want us to know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for asking. Our website is pursuitof.com. So if you want to learn about our healthcare services, that would be the place to do it. We are almost always hiring, and I am absolutely open to sharing my personal email, which is liz@pursuitof.com. If you write a great email, I will respond. I always have that principle in place. And then I'm at Liz Presson on all of the social networks.
That's fantastic. Guys, you've heard it here. You've heard it yourself. You've heard how Liz, innovates. If that doesn't drive you to kind of like join this kind of working remote movement for leaders right here, if that speaks to you, go ahead and reach out, looking for that next opportunity. Email Liz, and hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you also follow her on her socials. Liz, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for I thoroughly enjoyed the topic. I loved enjoying researching what you guys do, and I look forward to more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate you having me.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.